reach two big milestones but can't get 2 points. We discuss the 4-3 shootout loss to the San Jose Sharks, our key takeaways, plus milestones for Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara. We'll preview both of this weekend's games in Southern California and a lot more coming up on the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the weekend edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. So glad you could join us today, and thank you for being part of the Locked On Islanders family and for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Tough loss for the New York Islanders. They fall in a shootout 4-3 despite big milestones for Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara, and despite the fact that they had 47 shots on goal in this game and still could only put the puck in the net 3 times. We're going to talk about what this loss is indicative of in this game. We've got a full preview of both of this weekend's games coming up, one in LA, one in Anaheim, as the Islanders continue their West Coast road trip. And we have our Islanders birthday of the day, a fairly anonymous, unknown Islander who came up really big in a playoff game, and we're going to revisit that big playoff goal later on in this episode. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on the show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. You follow the show on Twitter, Don Isles, and you could at Ice Wars NYR VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, happenings, and we are live tweeting, or I am live tweeting during nearly Islanders home and road games. So we get some instant insight and analysis, and it's always great to interact with fans during the game. All right, Islanders fall 4-3 in a shootout to the San Jose Sharks, ending the Sharks' 7-game losing streak. And, you know, this is a game that the New York Islanders should have won. You got 47 shots in this game, 60 minutes of regulation and the 5 minutes of overtime. And then, of course, more chances in the shootout. But you get 47 shots on goal in a game, and you're still able to score 3 times. This speaks volumes to me about the fact the team just does not have enough skilled players. And the record of the Island and in shootouts this year in particular, but really in the entirety of the era, and they have on 3 when skill and speed are at a premium, and a shootout where, again, making moves to beat the goaltender, it's a skills competition. It's a glorified skills competition, but you still need to have those filthy skilled moves in order to make it work, and the Islanders just did not have that. And look, 3-on-3 overtime, lots of open ice, lots of space. It's harder to play the Barry Trotz, keep it slowed down system and just minimize the opposition's chances and forecheck and wait for to create scoring chances for you. That is not going to get the job done. Often in 3-on-3 overtime, and Ob has no ever during a shoot. Anytime the Islanders are in overtime or a shootout, they are out of their element. They are not able to play their style hockey. And after a fairly sluggish first 9-10 minutes of this game, the Islanders really came on and dominated. And you look at the shots on goal. The Islanders had 30 shots on goal in the second and third period combined. San Jose had 13. And yet we still headed to overtime. And that just isn't going to get the job done. Lot of little notes space here. First of all, Josh Bailey, a healthy scratch for the first time in a long, long time. Does this have anything to do with trade rumors? Probably not. We don't know for sure, but it certainly is trying to send a message to Josh Bailey, Oliver Wahlstrom, and Kiefer Bellows, both in the lineup for the Islanders in Bailey's absence. But then you also had the two big milestones in this game. Zdeno Chara passing Chris Chelios. He was tied with him after Tuesday's game for the most games played in the regular season all time by a defenseman. So congratulations to Chara. And the Sharks, gave him a nice tribute, and just, the respect that Zdeno Chara has around the league, always great to see. And, he had another game where, he got into a fight, and it was almost unfair watching Zdeno Chara fight. Didn't play as well as he did Tuesday night, but still one block shot, one hit, 16 and a half minutes roughly of ice time. Would have been more if he didn't spend the 5 minutes in the penalty box. But overall, a milestone night for Zdeno Chara. And then another milestone for Zach Parise. Parise had a goal and an assist in this game, as the line of Barzal, Parise, and Palmieri, again, clicking a bit, but not as well again as Tuesday, but you weren't playing an expansion team last night. But the other thing is, for Parise, the goal, the 400th of his NHL career. So congratulations to Zach Parise on reaching that milestone. But again, okay, the Islanders are now 1-0-1 on this road trip. And that's okay in the sense that if you can put together 2 more wins this weekend, yeah, you're on track. But 47 shots. I can't remember the last time the Islanders had 47 shots on goal in a game. And every forward in the lineup had at least one shot on goal in this game. And the only Islanders player in the lineup out of the 18 skaters who dressed who didn't have a shot on goal was Ryan Pulock. Everybody else had at least one, including 5 for Noah Dobson, 5 for Adam Pelech among the Blue. And then, it was a balanced attack. Brock Nelson, who also scored, had 5. And no player had more than that, but everybody was contributing. The problem, can't put the puck in net. And Noah Dobson hit a post. And I think there were 2 or 3 posts to go along with the 47 shots on goal. And then you had your 3 breakaway chances in the shootout, and the Islanders just could not get the job done. This team, it's a flaw that really can cost them. Now, obviously, if you get into the playoffs, and I'm not talking about this year, folks, I'm kind of looking back at the last 3 years under Barry Trotz when they won a series all 3 years, went to the conference final the last 2 years. There is no 3-on-3 overtime, and there is no shootout. So it hurts you less if you get into the playoffs. But again, the numbers, the wins and losses, and the statistics back that up as far as the way the Islanders play. Statistically, they just aren't going to get the job done enough in overtime and in shootouts because of the fact that they don't have enough skilled players. And realistically, while this Islanders lineup has balance and a certain amount of depth, they only have one legitimate first-line talent offensively in this lineup, and that's Matthew Barzal. And, oh, by the way, Barzy's not good in shootouts. So tough loss for the Islanders. You take the point at this point in time, you needed to. And it was a frustrating way to lose for the New York Islanders. Got a lot more to discuss on today's episode. We will preview both of this weekend's games, one in LA, one in Anaheim. We've also got our Islanders birthday of the day and a lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar. They're a treat, and like all Built Bars, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors like yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're so good, these are going to be your new favorite. And look, most Built Bars contain 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs, but they pack 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then they figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how, but they pull it off every time. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen. Now for your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Busy weekend coming up for the Islanders. 2 on tap, and the are going again, this is the Islanders now. On 30 Eastern time, the Islanders will be in LA to take on the LA Kings. So that's the first matchup of the weekend. Now, the Kings will be playing a back-to-back. They still have to face Anaheim on tonight, Friday night. Now, the Kings have won 3 in a row and 4 of the 5. So they're playing good hockey right now. Jonathan Quick, almost like he went into a time machine, playing strong hockey this year. And then there's a nice mix on the Kings of older guys who you may know, like Drew Doughty and Anze Kopitar, and then some younger players who are doing a good job, like Adrian Kempe, of putting the puck in the net. And it's interesting. Goals for the Kings are right in the middle of the league at 16th. Goals against, their 10th. The power play and penalty kill, special teams hurting this team in a big way. The power play is 26th in the league, only 16.8% effective, the 29th. So here we can Quentin Byfield before and Drew Doughty are the top pair. Oli Roy the second. Tobias Bjornfot and Sean Durzi are the third pair. Goaltenders and Charter out on IR. They are out, and Christian Wallen are in COVID. protocol. So we have to see whether or not they will be able to come back face the Islanders. So Saturday, the Islanders will be facing a team coming off a back-to-back, and Sunday it'll be the Islanders who are coming off the back-to-back. Now, that's an 8:30 Eastern time start, so at least Sunday night. A little bit tougher, earlier, so you don't have to stay up quite as late. The Ducks 15th in the league in goals scored, 21st against a very good special teams units, 5th on the power play, 25.2% success rate, 10th on the PK, 82.2%. John Ginn is the number one goalie, backed up by Anthony Stolarz. Both of their numbers are pretty similar on the season, but I'll tell you, here's a name you may not have heard a lot about who's really, really good on this Ducks team, Troy Terry. 26 goals to lead the team, 44 points as well. And if you want to see a guy with skill, you may have seen some of his highlight goals and passes, the lacrosse or the Michigan style play. Trevor Zegras, he's second on the team in scoring with 39 points and leads the team with 26 assists. Sonny Milano, Ryan Getzlaff, Kevin Shattenkirk also up there on the list. And if we take a look at the line for the Ducks this year, centering Sonny Milano and Troy Terry on the top line. The second line, Adam Henrique, a name from his time with the, and Richard Rabel on either side of him. Lundstrom is the third line center, who was left, Jakob Silverberg to his right. And then on the fourth line, Grant centers Nicholas Laurier and Sam Carrick. On defense, well, Hampus Lindholm is on the top pairing with Jamie Drysdale, Cam Farr and Kevin Shattenkirk, a talented second pair, Simon Boyd, Ash Mahora on the third goaltender. Mentioned Josh Gibson and two players on IR right now, Max Jones and Josh Manson. They will see if either of them get back, but not expecting it. So right now, out of the 4 points that are available to the Islanders, I would say you got to get at least 3 if you want to hang on to those slim playoff hopes. Right now, you have 3 out of 4 points so far on this road trip, and it doesn't get any easier. Both Anaheim and was a bad opportunity to pick up 2 points. Team that hadn't won, 7 straight games. But now is to up your game and get things going against teams that are in the thick of the playoff hunt in the Kings and the Ducks. We've got more to discuss on this episode of the show. We've got our Islanders' birthday of the day. Can you guess who I'm talking about? A fairly obscure forward who came up with a big game-winning goal in the playoffs. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day, and we'll have that and more coming up on the Locked On Cast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. Football may be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam, both pro and college hoops. And yes, conference tournaments are right around the corner. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds. Right to pretty much any sport and any event you could imagine. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. And this is a guy who's still playing professional hockey. But today is the 29th birthday for former Islanders forward Alan Quine, the Belleville, Ontario native, drafted by the Islanders in the 6th round of the 2013 NHL entry draft. Originally drafted in the third round by the Red Wings in 2011, but they never signed him. And Quine, made his NHL debut with the Islanders in 2015, 2016. Only played in 2 regular season games that year, but then in 10 playoff games had a goal and 5 points. Had pretty much a full season with the Isles in 2016, 2017, playing in 61 games, but split the following year between the Islanders and Bridgeport. And since then, moved on to the Calgary Flames organization and has been up and down between the minor leagues, the AHL, and the NHL. This year, playing for the Henderson Silver Knights. And in 15 games, he's got a goal and 11 points. So for his NHL career so far, Quine with 106 games, 10 goals, 28 points, and 22 penalty minutes. 13 career playoff games in the NHL, 10 of them coming with the Islanders back in 2015, 2016. He's got 1 goal and 6 points. But oh, that goal. We're going to go back and look at that game. It came in Game 5 of the Islanders series against the Florida Panthers back in 2016. Series was tied 2-2, and Game 5 was down in Florida at the BB&T Center. And this was a long, difficult game. Islanders got on the board first. Franz Nielsen, his third of the playoffs from Thomas Hickey at 13:31, and that made it 1-0 Islanders. Roberto Luongo was the goalie, by the way, for Florida. Tomas Greiss in between the pipes for the Islanders. And it stayed that way. It stayed 1-0 into the third period, but early in the third period, Alexander Barkov ties it, his second, from Alexander Petrovic and Jaromir Jagr. Time of the goal, 1:59. We're even at 1-1. In overtime, the Islanders had a penalty shot against them. Calvin DeHaan covered up the puck in the crease, and Alexander Barkov had a penalty shot. Greiss coming up huge and makes the save, and the game continues. And finally, in double overtime, with Derek McKenzie in the penalty box for slashing, Alan Quine, his first of the playoffs, to date his only career playoff goal. Marek Zidlicki and Thomas Hickey with the assist. Time of the goal, 16 minutes. Islanders skate away with a 2-1 win to take a 3-2 lead in the series. Game 6 was back in Brooklyn at that point at the Barclays Center. And again, it went to double overtime. The Islanders winning it on John Tavares' dramatic goal. And that was the Islanders' first playoff series win in 23 years. So Alan Quine, not a household name in Islanders history, but boy, did he come up with a clutch goal in this Game 5 of the 2016 opening round playoff series, and it made a huge difference. So Alan Quine is our Islanders birthday of the day. Happy 29th birthday and many, many happy more to Alan Quine. All right, that is going to more or less do it for today's show. This is a weekend where the Islanders really need to get things in gear and come up big because, again, time is running out, and we'll see about Josh Bailey and whether or not his healthy scratch, whether he responds to it or whether it indicates something more. We'll have all of that updated for you either via Twitter or on Monday's show. We'll also have our key takeaways from both of this weekend's games. Thanks for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. And let's go Islanders.